Welcome back, Line Golf Academy. Today we dissect Wilco Nienaber, who is the newest longest hitter on any tour, routinely hitting the ball 375 yards. His average sits around 337 and he has already recorded 439 yards. This 6'2", wiry, 175-pounder can nuke it. Hailing from South Africa, the Suid-Afrikaanse Nagmere can destroy covers off of golf balls and do it with amazing accuracy. As the new king of driving distance on the tour, we'll delve into his secrets behind the incredible success and reveal the techniques that have propelled him to the top of the yardage mound. So grab your clubs, settle in, and prepare to be amazed as we unlock the mysteries of Wilco Nienaber's swing. Alright, ladies and gentlemen of the Line Golf Academy, I'm super excited to do this one. I've been wanting to do this one for some time, but I'm so glad to do it. Let's take a look at this, and what we'll notice right away on the left side of the screen is we always seem to have this 90-degree angle that's set up, and that is something that I'm starting to notice a lot of these really good ball strikers do. So if you want to check your setup, try and do that. Try and see that 90 degrees. That might help you get in the right posture. But take a look at the right side of the screen. What do we notice? Just as usual, if we draw that triangle, where my hand's connected to, right in the center of the chest. Golf ball is connected to that center of the chest, and the hands go right through that. So this is a common thing. And for everybody that's telling you to forward press, don't listen to them, because they will lead you down a disastrous path. Unless your swing is designed on a forward press and you can get away with it. But other than that, go back to neutral. This really truly helps you. If this guy can hit it 429, 439 with this setup, trust me, something's going right. So let's take a look on the left side of the screen. Before we're going to do this, we're going to do a little impact position. Bam, right there. Look at that. So address, impact. What are we noticing? We're noticing a lot of thrusting going on, right? Look at that lower body. Lower body's driving, facing the target. Shoulders are wide open, hips are wide open. Hands are up in the air. Now we'll talk about why that occurs, because it has to do with shaft droop and also where he's coming in from under that plane line, and I'll describe that, which is why he hits it so far. Now if we take a look at impact on the right side, similar positions here. Look at those hands still out in front of the chest. Look at the lower body driving. Where's the lower body driving up? It is going straight up in the sky. Upper body hangs back to counteract that. He's driving the force right through his chest out to his hands, and he does a great job of holding those angles correctly. Alright, so if we take this club back, let's take a look at his path of his hands. They're getting pretty high right away. Now he's not too tall, he's 6'2", but he is lanky, so he has a lot of room to work with his frame. Club face is slightly open to his target. You can see that position here, so he is already slight roll, but there's a reason why he slight rolls, and he probably has the least hand manipulation I've ever come across, and I'll show you his follow through and how he holds off that. He actually tries to add loft as opposed to holding off loft. So let's take a look at the right side of the screen. As he takes that club back, look at how wide my man is. All he's doing is turning around that right spine angle. He is just extending and reaching out, so he is using all of his frame. So there's club face to parallel. So there's his club shaft. We're going to draw that straight across. Look how wide that is. It's so wide. There's so much room here. Both arms are fully flexed out. He's creating width, but he's also, look how low in relation to his legs that shaft is. Typically that thing is already belt high, so he is low and wide. And so what we're also going to do is going to draw a little line right where the back of his hands are to see how much he compresses his width on the way down, which will give him an explosion down at the golf ball. Let's go back on the left side of the screen. We're going to go a little bit higher. We're going to get to that secondary plane line. Now keep in mind that secondary plane line is preset based on a textbook position based on your setup. It is just a parallel line where the shoulder intersects back on your lower plane line, and you can see it's already nice and high. Now there is a reason for this, because he actually drops so much that he needs to create some room for this drop. And we can see that club face is square to his forearm, so it's looking pretty good, and he takes it to about there. That's the top of his swing. So let's go to the top of the swing on the right side. We can still see that nice width. I mean, look at this. There's those patented shoulders, right? Shoulders and chest still connected. He's still turning. He's still turning. Now if you take a look, what happens with him is he gets to the top of the swing and his upper body is turning so much, but look at that lower body. I mean, his X factor is extreme. So we're going to pause it right at the top there. Sorry, my mouse is a little slow. You can probably hear the clicking in the background. But let's take a look. There's the top of the swing. There's the club shaft, nowhere near parallel. And why is that? Because the shoulders are just past 90 degrees. So he hasn't formed his T yet. Ideally, you want to form the T, but because he's so wide, it's so hard for him to form the T because he doesn't want to sacrifice length. He doesn't want to sacrifice width by getting greedy at the top. And this is an A1 position. Look how still that lower body is. There is hardly any rotation. You can just see the belt buckle move probably one belt buckle width. So his X factor must be extreme. I wish we can test him, but both knees are still facing us basically. He hasn't even turned. So do not try to do this unless you are gifted like him with a long, lanky body that is very stretchy like Gumby. If you or I get up there, we're in the mid 40s and 50s and try and do this, it's probably going to be over. We might have to pick up paddle tennis or something. I'm gonna clip these lines, but I'm gonna leave up that one connection, and we're going to see how connected he is on the way down. But let's go on the left side of the screen. Let's see this action. So he's going to drop those hands. First thing he does, drop those hands down into the slot so we can see, okay, he's looking pretty good. But another thing you notice is the turning. So if we go back to the top, and we'll do this on most of our videos now just to show you that action. So there's the top of his club in the downswing. So that's where the butt of the club is pointing to the ground. Now if you notice, it rides down that, but it starts to get away from it because of the turn. Now his hands get away much quicker, meaning they get more room here because he is turning so much harder. So if you start noticing this in your swing, you start seeing your hands flare out over here. Maybe you didn't get enough turn on the way back and you're overturning on the way through, and your hands, you don't have spaghetti arms that can fall back behind you. They just go along for that ride. So there goes my banana balls, there goes my rope hooks. So for you, it's probably the same thing. But we're going to keep on going to about halfway back, right when the club is at parallel. And what you'll see is, look at that club head. It's already in the plane. And you take a look at his spine angle versus his club face angle, it's exactly where it was when he started. So that little bit of rotation, he's held that rotation. Now from this position forward, once we get going to the next segment, you will see hands and arms don't do anything. The turn's remaining motion will help square that club face and deliver extreme power. Let's go to the right side of the screen now. Let's take a look at that drop. He's going to pull those hands in like we see on the other side. He's going to set himself. He's going to rotate. Look at that lower body already driving, so we can see the right leg action, how much drive he has. If you connect the knees, there's your knee tilt, and then there is your hip tilt. So when you see knee tilts outrace the hip tilt, that means the hips are turning while the lower body's driving. So you see a lot of rotation. Look at, we see both butt cheeks on the left side of the screen. That means there's an extreme amount of rotation. So we're going to take that line off, keep going forward. So we're going to match up where that left arm is on his backswing triangle, and we're going to see some things change. We can see if we were to connect his triangle here, his triangle should be there. So you can see how much more lag he has with his arms. So this is a very precise motion that he has developed, and he makes up for this lag by the excess rotation at impact with his upper body. So his upper body is going to turn and his hands are going to accelerate and meet to the center of the chest at impact. I promise you, that is a guarantee. Okay, so left side of the screen, we're going to keep that club face square a little bit open, as you can see. Once we rotate to, it's still open. Watch that body. The body's going to keep turning, keep turning. Now that club head is only being moved by the rotation. He's not firing his hands, he's just moving the rotation, which allows him the passageway for his arms to get caught up to the center of his chest. He's creating room by driving this way, and you can see the right toe is on the ground. The left heel is starting to rise, the left toe is starting to rise up. We'll stop right there and catch up on the right side. Let's keep going down into impact. So this is where he's going to try and reconnect his triangle. So he does that by turning. So look at this immense angle that he has. And part of that is due to an optical illusion because he dropped his hands so far down. It does increase the angle just optically, but it's still pretty impressive how he holds it. That flexion must be as stiff as a board. But take a look at where his inside of the hands were in the backswing versus the inside of the hands now. Not much. So we don't see a lot of this lagging motion where the hands are pulling in. So he is creating width. He's maintaining his width. So if you can find a way to maintain your width and not break down your arms, specifically that lead arm, that's going to help you deliver more power while the body creates that power. That's the key. Where most of my amateurs here, all they do is create power with their flimsy hands and arms while the body just kind of watches. Okay, we cleaned up that line. We're going to keep going forward. So we keep that rotation. There goes that rotation. Hands are now cleared because he's created that space on the left side to play catch up with his triangle. So we see that slight out racing of the hands. Now this is perfect because what I want you to get across is a Ferris wheel, merry-go-round, circle, whatever you want. The inside of the circle and the outside of the circle have to move at the same RPMs. But the outside of the circle moves faster miles per hour. So he is making sure he has the room on the left side with that little gap here to allow those hands to speed up, to catch up to his shoulders, because they have to. If they don't speed up, he's going to be late, and that ball is going to go right, and more right. And then he'll develop a flip to try and counteract that. So let's go right down into impact, and let's look at this. Do we see that connection between the triangle? I'm going to guess we're going to see that connection. So there's slightly before impact, and guess what? Just like a magic trick, everything's connected. Let's go back to the left side. Let's keep on rolling through. Now we see that slight little hand action, but I want you to watch that. Do you see much rotation with the body? Not at all, because he is fully opened up as much as he can. Look at the flexion on his legs. Everything is just compressed. All that power went from his legs up to his hips. His hips rotated up, turned the chest, and just delivered the power with his arms and hands. And they're just kind of rolling around. They're still open to his spine. So very rare when you see this, because there's so much rotation and drive with the body, he cannot release it, so he just goes along with the ride. And on the right side of the screen, we're going to keep going forward, and there goes that subtle release. Whoa, what was that? There goes that subtle release, and we can see, look at that nice long extension. So where are the hands? Still in front of the chest. Where are the hands? Still in front of the chest. That club face is still open to his spine. So there goes that subtle release, but take a look. Where are his chest to his center? Bingo, right in the center. So not a lot of motion in the lower body at this point. It's already been driven up through his chest and it's delivered through his hands. And what you'll see here is that nice rotation. He never even came close to his impact line. He just stayed where he was. So very little lower body manipulation. And what you'll see, this is a funky looking finish, but if you try this, he is actually adding loft. So if you take a look at that club face, it's actually adding loft by doing this. So he said when he was a junior that he had a 3-wood and he had to outdrive his friends with a driver. Now, because he didn't have a driver, he had to manipulate that club as much as he can. So in order to do that, he had to learn how to manipulate that club head on the way through and actually add loft. When you roll your right hand like he's doing in a cupping position, you'll actually increase your right shoulder turn. This is almost like a fluke. It's almost like a backstory of some sort of villain. And this is how he was created, because his dad didn't get him a driver. So he learned how to hit a 3-wood hard, and it just turned him into this monster. On the way on the left side, we can see the same motion here coming on through. Look at that, matching that top plane line with his club. Comes through, hands a little bit higher because he set him higher, so he needed that room between his hands and his chest. And watch that right hand. So that right hand gets that cupping look. It's a little bit funky looking, and that club face is not closed, so he has actually added loft. And you can see that, because if this club was here, this motion adds loft to the club. So again, I am suspecting, because of that 3-wood that his dad gave him and said, no son, you're stuck with this 3-wood, he had to learn to do that. And look at all that right side. So I hope that helps you guys see that you will probably never hit it like this man. Most of us can't hit it like this man, but it's pretty awe-inspiring to watch, and hopefully you can take some of this with you. If you can take something, is stretch. Just stretch more and stay connected. Hope that helps you. Fairways and greens.